Look, I don't want to get crazy with speculation, but there are some crazy things currently going on in the market. And I want to share with you guys an article that I recently read. And I want to show you some things on charts that are just really fascinating and need to be discussed because all of these things that are currently happening in the market have everything to do with the worldwide economy. And the economy is currently crumbling in a lot of different places. In Great Britain, the British pound is falling. In Europe, the euro is falling. And Britain has actually said that they are going to be bailing out their economy, their system, everything that was put in place in 2008 in the United States as far as the worldwide recession. We bailed out our banks, we bailed out our businesses that should have failed. And now Great Britain is doing the exact same thing. And the response that we're getting in the market is that people are starting to not trust their central banks to do the right thing. In 2020, we saw the same thing. The Federal Reserve printed a ton of money and said, hey, here you go. Here's a bunch of checks. Go and do what you will with it. It was supposed to be to pay for your bills, your home, your mortgage, things like that. But people went and blew it on a ton of stuff, and it propped up the market. Not only that, the Federal Reserve went out and purchased their own stocks to prop up these businesses that, again, should have probably failed, but the Federal Reserve thought they were too big to fail, and so they went out and purchased all these stocks to prop up those businesses. But it was all fake money. It wasn't real. None of it was, and that's why we're seeing record high inflation now. The article that I wanted to share with you guys, though, was about this rich billionaire that used to work for George Soros, actually. He made a ton of money in the 90s shorting the British pound when they knew that there was a supply shortage. And this guy is an incredibly smart guy, doesn't own any crypto, by the way, does not own any crypto, and yet he made this statement. I could see cryptocurrency having a big role in a renaissance because people just aren't going to trust the central banks. Exactly what I just talked about. He then went on to say that the Fed was wrong in their response to the crisis in 2020 at the start of the pandemic, saying that they made a big mistake printing all of that money and propping up the market. They should have never done that. They should have let it play out and let the market decide what happened, because that's how capitalism works. That's how a capitalistic society works. And yet we as a country, as a nation, decided to prop up all of these businesses that had terrible business practices throughout the past 10 years. After the 2008 housing market collapse, what did these businesses do that we bailed out? They went in, they did a bunch of buybacks using money that was supposed to be to help their business out. And then they also gave all of their CEOs, all of their board members and cabinets a bunch of raises. Like, how is that supposed to help and not stifle? And we saw the exact opposite. So in 2020, all of these businesses that got bailed out in the Great Recession were now operating at a net loss again, and we decided to go in and bail them out. But what I want to show with you is Bitcoin. Look at this chart today. Look at what Bitcoin is doing on the news of some of these things. We got figures today that inflation is still higher than what we anticipated. And because of that, we're starting to see all of these people buy into Bitcoin as a hedge against central banks, is what I foresee. Now, again, this is all speculation. I want to preface it with that because we don't really know what's going on. This could just be another pump to fake people out. But I really hope that people start to see why Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies were created in the first place, to protect us against greedy bankers, greedy congressmen and women out there that are just looking out for themselves, not really looking out for the people that they're there to represent. And so what I want to see happen here, what I hope happens here, is that people recognize the value of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies and start buying into it as a hedge against these things. If you currently look at the forex, all of these currencies, you could go down the list of currencies and see that they are all in a slump right now. And when you contrast that to Bitcoin, which is up 2.5% today, that's a major difference. So, what's going on? Well, I think it has everything to do with distrust. And for good reason. There's a lot of reasons to not trust these central banks that are put in place in these economies. Also, historically, when the US dollar has been performing extremely well, Bitcoin has not done as well. And yet, for some reason, right now, we're seeing the US dollar go up in value because people are using that as a hedge around the globe as well. People in Europe, people in Great Britain are buying the US dollar, trying to scoop it up in order to hedge against their currencies. But even though the US dollar is currently going up, it's being propped up off of that speculation, but it's really not performing any better. It's going down in value just like every other currency. The only difference is it's going down slower. So, what I think we're going to see here is eventually the correlation between the stock market and our economy is going to fall away. Bitcoin is going to stand alone on its own economic principles. At least that's what I hope we see. Each day, each week, we continue to have more of these billionaires and investors say that cryptocurrencies are going to be a hedge. Cryptocurrencies this, cryptocurrencies that. The more of these people that start talking about it, the more it legitimizes these currencies. So even though we're in a bear market right now, you have to understand that it's not just cryptocurrencies. The entire World Economic Forum is currently crumbling around us. But I think there is some solace here knowing that people like Mr. Drunkenmiller here are looking to assets like cryptocurrencies as a hedge against these central banks. Hey guys, if you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps my channel grow. And if you haven't already subscribed, you're missing out on daily cryptocurrency content that I post here. So please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button as well. And be sure to turn notifications on. That's going to be it for this one though. Crypto Clay,